The subway car rattled through the tunnel at midnight, mostly empty except for a man in an expensive gray suit who sat with his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Christopher Bennett had everything money could buy. A penthouse overlooking the city. Cars that cost more than most houses. A company worth billions. But right now, at 38 years old, sitting on a hard plastic subway seat with tears running down his face, he had never felt more alone. He had just come from his penthouse, unable to stay there another second. The silence was crushing. 3 years since Grace died. 3 years of walking through life like a ghost. Tonight had been the worst. He had stood in their bedroom, staring at her empty side of the bed, and something inside him had broken. He left without thinking, ending up on the subway going nowhere. That's when he heard it. A voice. Small, sweet, and achingly familiar. Singing. Christopher's head snapped up. At the other end of the car stood a little girl, maybe 7 years old, wearing a faded red dress that had been washed so many times it was almost pink. Next to her stood a woman in her early 30s, beautiful even in worn clothes, her dark skin glowing under the harsh subway lights. She wore a green cardigan over a simple dress. The woman held a small cup, but it was the child who commanded attention. Her voice filled the subway car with a melody that made Christopher's heart stop. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. It was Grace's song. The song she sang every morning while making coffee. The song she hummed in the shower. The song she sang to him on their wedding day. Christopher's tears came harder now and he didn't try to stop them. Other passengers glanced at him uncomfortably. A businessman, crying, broke down completely in public. But Christopher didn't care anymore. The little girl's voice was so pure, so full of hope despite the obvious poverty in her appearance. Her shoes had holes. Her dress was too small. But she sang like an angel. When the song ended, silence filled the car. Then Christopher heard himself making sounds he hadn't made since the funeral. Deep, gasping sobs that came from somewhere dark inside him. He covered his face with his hands, ashamed but unable to stop. His whole body shook. The few passengers in the car looked away quickly, embarrassed by this display of raw emotion from a man who looked like he had everything. The woman with the child whispered something, gently pulling the little girl toward the next car. But the child resisted, staring at Christopher with wide, concerned eyes. Christopher felt her small hand on his knee before he saw her. He looked up through his tears to find the little girl standing right in front of him, her face full of worry that no 7-year-old should have to feel for a stranger. Don't be sad, sir, she said softly. The song is for you. Those simple words, spoken with such genuine care, hit Christopher harder than anything had in 3 years. This child, who clearly had nothing, was trying to comfort him. A man in a suit that cost more than she probably saw in a year. Her kindness was so pure, so unexpected, that it cut through all his pain and reached something deeper. Simone, baby, come back here, the woman called gently, moving toward them. I'm sorry, sir. She just wants to help. Christopher shook his head, wiping his face with his sleeve. He didn't care that he was ruining an expensive shirt. No, please. Don't apologize. She's very kind. The woman, Kendra Harris, studied him carefully. She had seen a lot in 32 years. Had developed good instincts about people during her time as a nurse, before everything fell apart. This man's pain was real. Whatever he was going through, it wasn't about money or business. This was grief. Deep, soul-crushing grief. That song, Christopher managed, his voice rough. Where did you learn it? Simone smiled, a gap-toothed grin that lit up her whole face. Mama taught me. She says it brings sunshine to people who need it. Your mama is very wise, Christopher said, looking at Kendra. Their eyes met and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Recognition of shared pain. We sing for people on the trains, Simone continued, chattering in that way children do when they sense an adult needs distraction. Mama says music is a gift we can share. We used to have a house, but now we stay in different places. But that's okay because we have each other. Kendra's face flushed. Simone, honey, Mr. Bennett. Christopher Bennett. He stood up, suddenly aware of how he must look. Red-eyed, tear-stained, disheveled. I'm sorry for breaking down like that. Your daughter's voice, it reminded me of someone. Someone you lost? Kendra asked gently. Christopher nodded. My wife. 3 years ago. Cancer. That was her favorite song. The subway car lurched as it pulled into a station. The doors opened, letting in a rush of cold air. Christopher saw Kendra glance at the platform, then back at Simone, calculating something. This is where we get off, Kendra said. Come on, baby. But Simone was still looking at Christopher with those big, thoughtful eyes. Will you be okay, Mr. Bennett? He wanted to lie, to give the answer adults always give children. But looking at this little girl who lived in shelters but still took time to comfort a crying stranger, Christopher found he couldn't. I don't know, he said honestly. But meeting you two tonight, it helped. More than you know. Simone reached into the pocket of her worn red dress and pulled out something. A small paper flower, made from what looked like a fast food napkin, colored with crayon. She pressed it into Christopher's hand. Mama says when you're sad you should hold on to something beautiful until the sadness gets smaller. Maybe this will help. The doors started to close. Kendra grabbed Simone's hand, pulling her onto the platform just in time. Christopher watched them through the window as the train pulled away. Kendra hugging her daughter close. Simone waving at him with her small hand. And Christopher, billionaire Christopher Bennett, stood there holding a napkin flower and feeling something he hadn't felt in 3 years. A reason to keep going. Have you ever wondered what you would do if you met someone who changed your life in just one moment? If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to hear how Christopher's chance meeting with Simone transforms everything. Drop a comment below about a time when a stranger's kindness helped you through a dark moment. Christopher couldn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse, still wearing his tear-stained suit, holding the napkin flower like it was made of crystal. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard that voice. Simone's voice, so much like Grace's. Sweet and pure and full of unearned hope. Grace had sung that song every single morning. It was one of her things, one of those small habits that made a person who they were. She would wake up before him, pad to the kitchen in bare feet and start the coffee. Then she would sing. Quietly at first, then louder as she woke up fully. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Christopher used to tease her about it. Said she was like a Disney princess singing to the birds. She would laugh and throw a dish towel at him. God, he missed that laugh. He had met Grace when they were both 25. She was a teacher at an elementary school in Brooklyn. He was already climbing the ladder in tech, working 100-hour weeks to build his first company. They met at a coffee shop where she was grading papers and he was taking a rare break. She had looked up, caught him staring and smiled. That was it. One smile and his whole life changed direction. They had 10 years together. 10 perfect years. Then the diagnosis. Stage 4. It moved fast, too fast. From diagnosis to gone in 8 months. Christopher threw money at every treatment, every specialist, every experimental trial. Nothing worked. In the end, Grace died in a hospital bed while Christopher sat beside her, holding her hand and humming that damn song because she was too weak to sing it herself. After she died, Christopher threw himself into work. Built his company into an empire. Made more money than he could ever spend. Bought things. Big things, expensive things, meaningless things. None of it helped. The penthouse was too quiet. Every room echoed. He ate dinner alone. Woke up alone. Existed alone. Until tonight. Until a 7-year-old girl in a worn red dress sang his wife's song and looked at him with such pure kindness that something inside him cracked open. Christopher pulled out his phone. It was 3 in the morning, but he didn't care. He opened his laptop and started searching. The subway line they were on. Shelters in that area. Services for homeless families. He read until the sun came up, learning about a world he had never had to think about. Single mothers struggling. Children sleeping in shelters. Families one paycheck away from the street. People like Kendra and Simone. By 8 a.m., Christopher was back on the subway. He rode the same line going back and forth looking for them. He must have looked insane. A man in a fresh suit, riding the subway for hours, staring at every passenger. But he didn't care. He had to find them. Had to know they were okay. Had to, and this was the part he was only starting to admit to himself, see them again. It was almost noon when he spotted the faded red dress. Simone and Kendra were in a different car, singing for a sparse afternoon crowd. Simone's voice carried the same purity it had the night before, but in daylight, Christopher could see more details. The dark circles under Kendra's eyes. The way she held Simone's hand too tightly, like she was afraid someone might take her. The cup they held for donations had maybe $3 in it. Christopher waited until they finished the song. Then he stood and walked over, his heart pounding like he was about to make the biggest business deal of his life. Mr. Bennett, Simone said, her face lighting up. You came back. Kendra looked startled, then wary. Her hand moved protectively to Simone's shoulder. Mr. Bennett. We didn't expect to see you again. I was hoping to find you, Christopher said. He felt awkward, too big in the small space. I wanted to thank you. Both of you. And I wanted to talk if you have time. We have time, Simone said immediately. Kendra bit her lip. Simone, honey, Mr. Bennett is probably busy. I'm not, Christopher said quickly. Please. Can we get off at the next stop? Maybe get some lunch? My treat. He saw the conflict in Kendra's eyes. Pride versus hunger. Independence versus need. She was about to refuse. He could see it forming on her lips. Then Simone's stomach growled. Loud enough that everyone nearby heard it. Okay, Kendra said quietly. Lunch. But just lunch. They got off at the next station and walked to a small diner nearby. Christopher had passed places like this 1,000 times without really seeing them. Now, watching Simone's eyes widen at the menu, watching Kendra try to order the cheapest items, he saw everything. Order whatever you want, Christopher said. Really? Anything. Simone ordered pancakes and eggs and orange juice and toast. Kendra tried to stop her, but Christopher shook his head. Let her. Please. While they waited for food, Christopher told them about Grace. About how she sang that song. About how he had been drowning until Simone's voice pulled him back to the surface. He didn't cry this time. Just talked, letting the words flow. Kendra listened with her nurse's attention, that focused way of listening that made people feel truly heard. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Your wife sounds like she was wonderful, Kendra finally said. She was, Christopher agreed. The best person I ever knew. She taught 2nd grade. Loved her students like they were her own kids. We were going to have children. After she made partner at her school. After I sold my first company. We had plans. Plans change, Kendra said softly. Life changes them. It does, Christopher agreed. Can I ask what changed yours? The food arrived, and for a few minutes, they were quiet while Simone ate with the focused intensity of a child who didn't know when her next meal would come. Kendra watched her daughter, love and pain mixed on her face. I was a nurse, Kendra began. Worked at Mercy General Hospital. Pediatric floor. I loved it. Loved the kids. Loved helping families through scary times. Simone's father left when she was a baby. It was hard, but we managed. I had a good job, good benefits, a nice apartment in Queens. She paused, pushing eggs around her plate. Then the hospital closed. Budget cuts, merger with another system. I don't know all the details. They gave us 2 weeks' notice. 2 weeks. I tried to find another nursing position, but the market was flooded. Hundreds of nurses looking for jobs. My savings lasted 2 months. Then we lost the apartment. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks, Christopher repeated, stunned. You've been homeless for 3 weeks? Kendra nodded. We stay in shelters when there's room. When there's not, we ride the subway all night. Safe mostly. Warm. I get Simone to the library every day so she can read. We wash up in public restrooms. I'm still applying for jobs, but it's hard when you don't have a permanent address or phone that works consistently. Christopher felt sick. This woman, this nurse who had dedicated her life to helping children, was sleeping on trains with her daughter. 3 weeks. That was nothing. That was a vacation for him. For them, it was everything falling apart. Mama's going to fix it, Simone said, suddenly looking up from her pancakes. She always does. Mama's the best. Kendra's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled and stroked her daughter's hair. That's right, baby. Mama's going to fix it. Christopher watched them. This mother and daughter who had nothing but each other. Kendra in her worn green cardigan and Simone in her faded red dress. They had lost everything, but they still had hope. Still had love. Still took time to comfort crying strangers on the subway. Mercy General, Christopher said suddenly. That's where Grace died. Kendra looked up, startled. When? 3 years ago. May 15th. Something shifted in Kendra's expression. Recognition. Memory. May 15th, she whispered. 3 years ago. I remember that day. I remember, oh God. Your wife. Grace Bennett. Room 412. Now it was Christopher's turn to be shocked. You were there? I held her hand, Kendra said, tears streaming down her face now. You were stuck in traffic. The accident on the bridge. She was alone and she was scared. I held her hand and I sang to her. I sang You Are My Sunshine. She asked me to. Said it was her favorite song. Said her husband sang it to her. The diner spun around Christopher. All this time he had been eaten alive by guilt that he wasn't there when Grace died. That she had been alone. But she hadn't been alone. Kendra had been there. This woman, now homeless and desperate, had held his dying wife's hand and sang to her. You were the nurse, Christopher said, his voice breaking. You were the one who called me. Who told me she went peacefully? She did, Kendra said. I promise you she wasn't scared at the end. She talked about you. About how much she loved you. About the song. She made me promise something. What? To never stop singing. To teach my daughter to sing. To spread kindness through music because the world needs more light. Kendra laughed through her tears. I didn't know then how much I would need that promise. How much we would need that music to survive. Simone looked between them, confused by the crying but intuitive enough to feel the importance of the moment. Mama, did you know Mr. Bennett's wife? I did, baby, Kendra said. I helped her. And now we're helping Mr. Bennett by singing her favorite song. Christopher couldn't speak. The connections, the timing, the impossible chance of finding them again. It felt like Grace had reached across 3 years to bring them together. Or maybe, he thought, looking at Simone's innocent face and Kendra's tired eyes, maybe Grace had never really left at all. After lunch they walked together through the city. Christopher didn't have a plan. For the first time in years he wasn't thinking 5 steps ahead, calculating outcomes and strategies. He was just walking with Kendra and Simone, listening to the little girl chatter about everything and nothing. That's where we used to get library books, Simone said, pointing to a building. Mama says we can still go, but we have to be careful because we don't have a library card anymore. Why not? Christopher asked. You need an address, Kendra explained. We don't have one. Such a small thing. A library card. Christopher probably had 5 of them somewhere, forgotten in drawers. For Simone it meant losing access to books, to stories, to escape. And that's the park where Mama used to take me on Sundays, Simone continued, pulling them toward a small green space. We would have picnics. Mama makes really good sandwiches. I'm sure she does, Christopher said, watching Kendra's face tighten with pain at the memory of what they had lost. They sat on a bench while Simone ran to the playground. There were other children there and she joined them easily, her laughter carrying across the grass. For a moment she looked like any other 7-year-old. Happy, carefree, young. She's resilient, Kendra said, watching her daughter. Sometimes I think she doesn't understand how bad things are. Other times I think she understands perfectly and is just protecting me. She's wonderful, Christopher said. You've raised an incredible child. I'm trying, Kendra said. But I'm so tired. Every day is about survival. Where will we sleep tonight? Where will we eat? How do I keep her clean, keep her in clothes that fit, keep her believing that everything will be okay? I'm running out of money. Running out of hope. Running out of strength. Her voice cracked on the last word and Christopher saw the facade drop. This strong, proud woman who had held it together for 3 weeks finally letting someone see how close she was to breaking. I failed her, Kendra whispered. I promised I would always take care of her and I failed. You didn't fail, Christopher said firmly. The system failed you. Circumstances failed you. But you? You're here. You're fighting. You're still singing that song even though you've lost everything. That's not failure. That's courage. Kendra wiped her eyes. I don't feel very courageous. My wife saw it, Christopher said. 3 years ago, Grace saw something in you. She made you promise to keep singing because she knew you had strength. She was right. They sat in silence for a while watching Simone play. The sun was starting to lower in the sky. Soon they would have to think about where to spend the night. The shelter was first come, first served. If they didn't get there early, they would be back on the subway. Don't be sad, sir. Christopher turned to find Simone standing beside the bench. He hadn't even seen her approach. She was looking at him with those big, knowing eyes. I'm not sad, he said gently. I'm just thinking. You looked sad, Simone insisted. Mama says I'm good at seeing when people are sad. She says I have a gift. Your mama is right, Christopher said. You do have a gift. You helped me last night when I was very sad. Do you remember? Simone nodded. You were crying on the train. I told you the song was for you. You did. And it helped. More than you know. Good, Simone said, satisfied. Then she climbed onto the bench between Christopher and Kendra, her small body fitting perfectly in the space. Mr. Bennett, do you live near here? Simone, Kendra warned. It's okay, Christopher said. I live across town. In a big building. Is it nice? Yes. It's nice. Do you live alone? The question was innocent, but it hit hard. I do. That's sad, Simone said matter-of-factly. Everyone should have someone. Mama and I have each other. Even when we don't have a house, we have each other. Who do you have? Out of the mouths of children, Christopher thought. This 7-year-old had just summarized his entire existence. He had everything and no one. I had my wife, Christopher said. But she's gone now. But you have friends, right? And family? Christopher thought about his life. His employees, yes. Business partners. People who wanted things from him. But friends? Real friends? Family? His parents were dead. Grace's family had drifted away after she died, too painful to stay in touch. He had made himself an island. Not really, he admitted. Simone looked horrified. That's terrible. You need people, Mr. Bennett. Everyone needs people. Simone, honey, you can't just, Kendra started, but Christopher held up his hand. She's right, he said. I do need people. I've been alone too long. That's why meeting you two meant so much. You reminded me that there's still good in the world. Still kindness. Still reasons to keep going. Simone smiled. See, Mama? We helped. You did, baby, Kendra agreed, her voice thick with emotion. You really did. They sat together as the sun set, three people who had found each other against impossible odds. Christopher knew he should go home. Knew he had meetings tomorrow, responsibilities, a life that didn't include sitting in parks with homeless strangers. But he didn't want to leave. For the first time in 3 years, he felt connected to something real. Where are you staying tonight? He asked finally. Kendra checked her phone. There's a shelter about 20 blocks from here. If we walk now, we might get a spot. And if you don't? Then we ride the train, Kendra said simply. We've done it before. Christopher made a decision. One that felt inevitable, like it had been made the moment Simone put her small hand on his knee and told him not to be sad. I have a guest house, he said. At my building. It's been empty for years. You could stay there. Just for tonight. Or longer if you need to. Kendra went very still. Mr. Bennett, that's incredibly kind, but we can't. Why not? Simone asked. If he's offering, Mama, why can't we say yes? You always tell me to accept kindness when it's offered. Kendra looked torn. Christopher could see the battle raging behind her eyes. Pride versus need. Fear versus hope. Please, Christopher said. You held my wife's hand when she died. You sang to her. You gave her peace. Let me do this. Let me help you. Not as charity. As thanks. As payment for a debt I can never fully repay. You don't owe me anything, Kendra said. Maybe not, Christopher agreed. But I'm asking anyway. Please, let me help. Grace would want me to. I know she would. Kendra looked at her daughter. Simone was watching her with such hope, such trust that everything would work out. How could she say no? How could she let pride keep them on the streets when a safe place was being offered? Just for tonight, Kendra said finally. Just for tonight, Christopher agreed, knowing it was a lie. Knowing that once they were safe, once they were in his home, he would do everything in his power to make sure they never had to sleep on a train again. Simone jumped up and grabbed Christopher's hand. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. You're a good person. I'm trying to be, Christopher said, looking down at the small hand in his. Your Mama and Grace taught me how. The guest house wasn't really a house. It was an entire floor of Christopher's building, renovated years ago for visiting executives who never came. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, and a living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Christopher had forgotten it existed. Kendra stood in the doorway, unable to move. Simone had no such hesitation. She ran inside, her worn shoes squeaking on the hardwood floors. Mama, look. A real bed. And there's 2 of them. 3, Christopher corrected. 3 bedrooms. Pick whichever ones you want. Mr. Bennett, this is too much, Kendra said, her voice barely above a whisper. We can't. You can, Christopher said gently. It's been sitting empty for 2 years. No one uses it. You would actually be doing me a favor. Places like this need people in them or they feel dead. Kendra walked in slowly, touching the walls like she thought they might disappear. When was the last time she had been inside a real home? When was the last time she had privacy, safety, space to breathe? There's a washer and dryer, Christopher said, leading her through the apartment. The kitchen is fully stocked. I'll have groceries delivered tomorrow. The bathroom has, well, everything you might need. Towels, soap, all of it. Mama, can I take a bath? Simone called from one of the bedrooms. A real bath? With bubbles? There's bubble bath in the cabinet, Christopher called back. Then to Kendra, I'll leave you 2 to settle in. I'm on the top floor if you need anything. Just use the elevator. It's key to bring you straight up. Wait, Kendra said. I thank you. I don't know what else to say. Thank you doesn't feel like enough. It's enough, Christopher said. Get some rest. Both of you. We can talk more tomorrow. He left before Kendra could protest again, taking the elevator up to his penthouse. Felt different now. Less like a tomb, more like a space with possibilities. Knowing that 2 floors down, Simone was probably splashing in a bathtub while Kendra maybe finally got to rest. It made everything feel less empty. Christopher ordered food to be delivered to the guest house. Too much food. Pizza and Chinese and burgers and salad. He didn't know what they liked, so he got everything. Then he sat in his living room looking out at the city, and let himself feel something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. 2 floors down, Kendra was crying in the shower. Not sad crying. Relief crying. The water was hot, endless, clean. She had soap that smelled like lavender. Shampoo that made her hair feel soft again. She stood under the spray for 20 minutes, washing away 3 weeks of subway stations and public restrooms and fear. When she got out, she found clean clothes laid out on the bed. Women's clothes in her size. A note on top in Christopher's handwriting: "These were my wife's. She would want you to have them. If it's too weird, there's money in the drawer for new clothes. Please use it." Kendra picked up the note with shaking hands. Grace's clothes. Grace, who had died with Kendra holding her hand. Grace, who had made her promise to keep singing. Grace, who had somehow, impossibly, brought Kendra to this moment. She chose a soft blue sweater and comfortable pants. They fit perfectly. Of course they did. Grace had been about her size. When Kendra looked in the mirror, she saw a version of herself she had almost forgotten. Clean, rested, safe. In the living room, Simone was wrapped in a fluffy towel, her hair wet and clean, eating pizza and watching cartoons on a television that covered half the wall. She looked up when Kendra came in, and her smile was radiant. "Mama, this is the best day ever," she said. "Mr. Bennett is nice. Do you think we can stay more than one night?" "Baby, we'll see," Kendra said, sitting beside her daughter and pulling her close. "We don't want to impose." "What's impose mean?" "It means taking advantage of someone's kindness." Simone frowned, thinking this over. "But Mr. Bennett seemed happy that we're here. He smiled when I picked the bedroom with the big window. I don't think we're imposing. I think we're helping." "Helping how?" "He was so sad, Mama. On the train he was so sad. Sadder than I've ever seen anyone. But today when we were at the park he smiled. And just now when he showed us the bubble bath he laughed. We're helping him not be sad anymore. That's not imposing. That's being friends." Kendra hugged her daughter tighter. 7 years old and somehow wiser than most adults. "You're right, baby," she said. "You're absolutely right." They fell asleep together in the big bed, full and clean and safe for the first time in 3 weeks. Kendra had planned to stay awake to guard their temporary good fortune. But the moment her head hit the pillow, exhaustion took over. She slept deeply, dreamlessly, completely. Upstairs, Christopher couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Kendra's face when she saw the apartment. The way she touched the walls like they were precious. The way Simone's whole being had lit up at the sight of a bathtub. These simple things he took for granted every single day, meant everything to them. Around midnight he got up and went to his home office. Started making calls, sending emails. He knew people everywhere. Hospital administrators, nursing directors, hiring managers. By 2 a.m. he had 3 interviews lined up for Kendra. Good jobs, real jobs, at hospitals that needed experienced pediatric nurses. He also called his building manager, made arrangements. The guest house was now off limits to everyone except Kendra and Simone. No one else could use it. It was theirs for as long as they needed it. Then he did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He went to the bedroom he had shared with Grace, the one he hadn't slept in since she died. He opened her closet, still full of her clothes. He had never been able to give them away, couldn't bear to erase that last physical evidence that she had existed. He ran his fingers over her dresses, her sweaters, her shoes. "I found them, Grace," he whispered. "I found Kendra. The nurse who was with you. She has a daughter and they need help. I'm going to help them. I'm going to do what you would have done. I'm going to be better." He felt no answer, of course. Grace was gone. But somehow, standing in her closet at 2 in the morning, Christopher felt closer to her than he had in years. Like she was telling him this was right. This was good. This was the path forward. The next morning, Christopher knocked on the guest house door at 8 a.m. He had coffee and pastries from the bakery Grace used to love. When Kendra answered, she was wearing the blue sweater, her hair pulled back, looking rested for the first time since he met her. "Good morning," she said, smiling. "We were just talking about you. Good things, I hope." "The best things," Simone said, appearing behind her mother in pajamas that were too big but clean. "Mama says you're an angel." Christopher laughed. "Not quite. But I do have some news. I made some calls last night. I know you said you were having trouble finding nursing work. I have 3 interviews lined up for you this week. Good positions at good hospitals. If you're interested. Kendra's eyes filled with tears. You did that? For me? I did. You're a good nurse, Kendra. A great one. Grace thought so. And any hospital would be lucky to have you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll go to the interviews, Christopher said. Say you'll give yourself a chance. Kendra nodded, unable to speak. And, Christopher continued, I talked to my building manager. This apartment is yours for as long as you need it. No rent, no time limit. You focus on getting back on your feet. Getting Simone in school. Finding your way. I'll handle the rest. Mr. Bennett, that's too much, we can't accept. Mama, Simone interrupted. Remember what you tell me? Accept kindness when it's offered. You said it just yesterday. Kendra looked at her daughter, then at Christopher. She saw genuine kindness in his eyes. Not pity. Not some rich person's charity project. Real care, real concern. And she thought about what Grace had made her promise. To spread kindness through music. Maybe accepting kindness was part of that too. Maybe it was okay to let someone help. Okay, she said. Okay. We accept. With so much gratitude. You're changing our lives, Mr. Bennett. Christopher, he said. Please. Just Christopher. Christopher, Kendra repeated, smiling through tears. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Simone ran forward and hugged Christopher's legs. He stood there, awkward at first, then gently patted her head. When was the last time someone had hugged him? When was the last time he had felt this weight, this warmth, this simple human connection? You're welcome, he said. Both of you. Now let's have breakfast. We have a lot to plan. Does watching this story unfold make you believe in second chances? In the power of kindness to transform lives? Subscribe to see how Christopher, Kendra, and Simone's journey continues. Comment below if you've ever received unexpected help that changed everything for you. Your story might inspire someone else today. Over the next week, everything changed. Kendra went to all 3 interviews and Christopher accompanied her to the first one for moral support, waiting in the lobby like a proud parent. She got job offers from 2 of the hospitals. She chose the one closest to Christopher's building, a children's hospital with a good reputation and excellent benefits. She started the following Monday. Simone enrolled in the elementary school 3 blocks away. Christopher went with them to handle the paperwork, using his address for enrollment. The principal, a kind woman named Mrs. Robertson, recognized the situation immediately. She had seen enough families in crisis to spot the signs. She asked no questions, simply welcomed Simone warmly and promised Kendra that her daughter would be in good hands. We'll take care of her, Mrs. Robertson said, kneeling down to Simone's level. And I heard you like to sing. We have a music program you might enjoy. Simone's face lit up. A school with a music program. A place where singing was encouraged, not just a survival tool. Christopher watched as Kendra walked Simone to her new classroom that first day. He saw the relief on Kendra's face, the joy on Simone's. He had done this. With money, yes, but also with time and care and genuine concern. It felt better than any business deal he had ever closed. That evening he knocked on their door with takeout again. It had become a habit. Every night he brought dinner. They ate together, talked about their days. Simone would chatter about school, about her new teacher, about the friends she was making. Kendra would share stories from the hospital, the children she was helping. Christopher would listen, contributing his own stories when asked, but mostly just soaking in the warmth of their presence. You don't have to keep bringing us food, Kendra said one night. I can cook now. We have a kitchen. I know, Christopher said. But I like it. I haven't had people to eat dinner with in 3 years. If you don't mind the company, I'd like to keep coming. Kendra smiled. We don't mind. We like having you here. Don't we, Simone? I love it, Simone agreed. Christopher is part of our family now. The word hit Christopher hard. Family. He had given up on that concept. After Grace died, he had accepted that family was something in his past, not his future. But here was this child, casually including him in her family like it was the most natural thing in the world. I'd like that, he said softly. I'd like to be part of your family. As the days turned into weeks, routines developed. Christopher would have breakfast with them before Simone went to school. Kendra would text him updates about her day. He started attending Simone's school events. Her first concert, her parent-teacher conference, her art show. He sat next to Kendra and people assumed they were together. A family. It felt right. One Saturday afternoon, Christopher took them shopping. Not to expensive stores but to normal places where real people shopped. Simone needed clothes that fit, shoes without holes. Kendra protested at first, but Christopher was insistent. "Let me do this," he said. "Please. It makes me happy." So they shopped. Simone picked out dresses in bright colors: red, green, blue, maroon. She was drawn to cheerful shades that matched her personality. Kendra chose practical clothes for work, comfortable things she could move in. Christopher paid without thinking about the cost because, for the first time in years, money felt like it had a purpose. That night, Simone modeled all her new clothes for them, doing little spins in the living room. She wore a bright green dress that made her dark skin glow. "You look beautiful," Kendra said, tears in her eyes. "Like a princess," Christopher agreed. "I feel like a princess," Simone said. "A princess with a castle and a mama and a..." She paused, looking at Christopher. "What are you? In our family?" The question hung in the air. Kendra looked embarrassed, but Christopher just smiled. "What do you want me to be?" he asked. Simone thought about it seriously. "I never had a dad," she said. "My dad left before I was born. Mama says he wasn't ready to be a father. But you do dad things. You come to my school. You eat dinner with us. You bought me new shoes. That's what dads do, right?" Christopher's throat was tight. "I suppose it is. So maybe you could be like a dad," Simone said carefully, like she was afraid of saying the wrong thing. "If you want to be." Christopher looked at Kendra. She was watching him, her expression unreadable. They hadn't talked about what was happening between them. Hadn't named it. But there was something there. A pull. A connection that went beyond gratitude. "I would like that very much," Christopher said. "If your mama is okay with it." "Mama?" Simone turned to her mother. Kendra was crying now but smiling. "Yeah, baby. I'm okay with it." Simone squealed and launched herself at Christopher, hugging him tight. He caught her, holding this small person who had decided to love him, and felt his heart crack open in the best possible way. Later, after Simone was asleep, Christopher and Kendra sat in the living room. They had fallen into this habit too. Late-night talks after Simone went to bed. Sometimes they talked about deep things. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. "You don't have to do all this," Kendra said. "The clothes, the apartment, the job interviews. You've done so much already." "I want to," Christopher said. "You don't understand. Before I met you two, I was just existing. Going through the motions. Now I have a reason to get up in the morning. I have people to care about. You gave me that. We didn't do anything special. You sang a song on a subway," Christopher said. "You held a stranger's hand while she died. You raised a daughter who sees sadness and tries to fix it. You kept hope alive when you had every reason to give up. That's everything, Kendra. That's everything that matters." Kendra was quiet for a long moment. "Grace loved you very much," she finally said. "She talked about you in those final minutes. About how you made her laugh. About how you took care of her. About how she wished she had more time with you. She said you would be lost without her." "I was," Christopher admitted. "I am. I've been lost for 3 years. But you're finding your way back," Kendra said. She reached out and took his hand. It was the first time they had touched, really touched, since the day they met. "You're finding your way back to living." Christopher looked down at their joined hands. Kendra's hand was small, warm, and fit perfectly in his. "I think I am," he said. "Because of you. Because of Simone. You saved me." "No," Kendra said. "We saved each other." They sat like that for a long time, hands clasped, both afraid to move and break whatever spell they were under. Something was growing between them. Something new and fragile and precious. Neither of them wanted to rush it, but neither could deny it existed. "I should go," Christopher said eventually, though he didn't move. "You could stay," Kendra said. Then, realizing how that sounded, "I mean, you could stay longer. Have some tea. Talk more. If you want." "I want," Christopher said, smiling. "I always want more time with you." They talked until after midnight. About Grace, about Simone's father, about their lives before everything fell apart. They shared their fears, their hopes, their dreams for the future. And when Christopher finally went upstairs to his own apartment, he felt lighter than he had in years. He was falling in love. With Simone, yes. But also with Kendra. This strong, brave woman who had survived everything life threw at her and still chose kindness. Who still sang songs to comfort strangers. Who still believed, despite everything, that love was worth fighting for. Grace would approve, he thought. Grace had always said he needed someone strong. Someone who understood loss but didn't let it break them. Someone who could match him step for step. Someone exactly like Kendra. 3 months passed. 3 months of breakfasts together, school pickups, weekend trips to museums and parks. 3 months of Simone's laughter filling the building, of Kendra's smile becoming more frequent, of Christopher remembering what happiness felt like. Kendra thrived at her new job. She was promoted to senior nurse after just 2 months. Her supervisor said she was a natural leader, excellent with the children, compassionate with the families. Kendra came home every day with stories about the kids she helped, the families she supported. She loved her work and it showed. Simone flourished at school. She joined the choir and was given a solo in the spring concert. She made friends easily, inviting classmates over for playdates. The apartment that had been empty for years now rang with children's voices. Christopher would sit in his office upstairs, listening to the sounds of life happening below, and smile. He was different now too. His employees noticed it. His business partners commented on it. He smiled more. He left the office at reasonable hours. He took weekends off to spend with Kendra and Simone. The shark-like intensity that had built his empire softened into something more human. One Saturday morning, Christopher took them to a farmer's market. They walked through the stalls, sampling cheese and fruit, buying flowers that Simone insisted they needed. A woman selling jam asked if they wanted the family special. 4 jars for the price of 3. "We're not," Kendra started, but Christopher interrupted. "Yes, thank you. We'll take the family special." The woman smiled and packed up 4 jars. Strawberry, blueberry, peach, and mixed berry. Simone carried the bag carefully, proud of her responsibility. "Why did you say that?" Kendra asked as they walked away. "About being a family? Aren't we?" Christopher asked. "We live together, eat together, take care of each other. Simone calls me dad when she thinks I'm not listening. That feels like family to me." Kendra stopped walking. They were in the middle of the market, people flowing around them like water around stones. "She calls you dad?" "She doesn't know I hear," Christopher said. "But yes. When she's playing or talking to her friends. She says things like, 'My dad is taking me to the zoo,' or, 'My dad made me pancakes.' I don't correct her because I like it." Kendra's eyes were bright with tears. "I didn't know. I would have talked to her about it if I knew. Made sure it was okay with you." "It's more than okay," Christopher said. "Kendra, these last 3 months have been the happiest of my life since Grace died. Coming home to you two, having dinner together, helping Simone with her homework. Those things mean everything to me. You're my family now. If you'll have me." "Christopher," Kendra whispered. "Mama, look at these flowers," Simone called, running up with a bunch of bright blue daisies. "Can we get them for our home?" "Our home. Not the apartment. Not the guest house. Home." "Yes, baby," Kendra said, not taking her eyes off Christopher. "We can get them for our home." They bought the flowers, and Simone chattered all the way back to the building about where to put them. In the living room? The kitchen? Maybe her bedroom so she could see them when she woke up? That evening, after Simone went to bed, Christopher and Kendra sat on the balcony. It was May now, warm and beautiful. The city sparkled below them. "I need to tell you something," Kendra said. "Something I've been afraid to say." Christopher waited, his heart pounding. "I'm falling in love with you," Kendra said. "I've been trying not to. Trying to remember that you're helping us, that we're here because you're a good person, not because of anything else. But I can't help it. I love the way you are with Simone. I love how you remember that I like my coffee with cream but no sugar. I love how you listen when I talk about my day. I love you." Christopher reached for her hand. "I love you too. I've loved you since the park, I think. Since you told me about singing to Grace. Since I realized you were the person who gave my wife peace when I couldn't be there. You're extraordinary, Kendra. And I'm terrified of messing this up." "What if it doesn't work?" Kendra asked. "What if we try this and it falls apart? Simone is already attached to you. If we lose you, it would break her heart." "It would break mine too," Christopher said. "But I think not trying would break it worse. Don't you?" Kendra nodded. "Yeah, I do." They kissed then, soft and tentative. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "Grace would want this," Kendra said. "She told me to find love again. To not give up on happiness. She said the world needed more love, not less." "She was always the wisest person I knew," Christopher said. "And she was right. About everything. About you, about love, about second chances." They sat together until late, making plans. Slow plans, careful plans. They would tell Simone together. They would take things at a pace that felt right. They would build something real and lasting, something worthy of the second chance they had been given. The next morning they sat Simone down together. She looked between them, her face serious. Am I in trouble? She asked. No, baby, Kendra said. We want to talk to you about something happy. About our family. What about our family? Christopher took Simone's small hand. How would you feel if I became more than just a friend? If I became, well, if your mama and I decided to be together? Like a real family? Simone's face split into the biggest smile Christopher had ever seen. You mean like be my real dad? And mama's? She paused, searching for the word. Boyfriend, Kendra supplied. Christopher would be my boyfriend. Yes, Simone shouted, jumping up. Yes, yes, yes. I've been wishing for this every night. I asked the stars to make Christopher stay forever. And now he is. She threw herself at Christopher, hugging him tight. Then she grabbed Kendra, pulling her into the hug. They stood there, the three of them wrapped around each other, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Can I tell my friends at school? Simone asked. Can I tell them I have a dad now? Yes, Christopher said, his voice rough with emotion. You can tell them. Can I call you Dad? Instead of Christopher? I would love that, Christopher said. I would love that more than anything. Simone pulled back, looking at both of them seriously. You have to promise not to leave. You have to promise to stay forever. I promise, Christopher said. I'm not going anywhere. This is my family now. You and your mama are everything to me. Good, Simone said, satisfied. Then, can we have pancakes to celebrate? They laughed and went to the kitchen. Christopher made pancakes while Kendra started coffee. Simone set the table, humming her song. The song that had brought them all together. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. Christopher listened to that sweet voice and thought about how far they had all come. From a midnight subway ride to this. A family. A real family built on loss and hope and love. His phone rang. A business call he would normally take. He looked at it, then silenced it. Business could wait. This moment, this morning with his family was more important. Kendra noticed and smiled at him. New priorities? She asked. The best priorities, Christopher said, flipping a pancake. The only ones that matter. Summer arrived, bringing with it lazy days and new routines. Christopher officially moved into the guest house with Kendra and Simone. His penthouse sat empty now, the place where he had been so alone, feeling like a museum of his old life. This new life was better. Messier but better. Simone's drawings covered the refrigerator. Kendra's nursing textbooks sat on the coffee table. Christopher's work laptop competed for space with coloring books and toy cars. It was chaotic and wonderful. They took their first trip together in July. Nothing fancy, just a week at a beach house on Cape Cod. Christopher rented a small cottage right on the water. They spent their days building sandcastles, swimming, collecting shells. Simone learned to boogie board and shrieked with delight every time a wave carried her to shore. One evening, while Simone was distracted by a hermit crab, Christopher and Kendra walked along the beach together. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. This is perfect, Kendra said. I never thought I'd have this. A vacation. A family. Someone who loves me. You deserve all of it, Christopher said. You deserve everything good in the world. So do you, Kendra said. You were so sad when we met. I was worried about you that first night. I thought, she paused. You thought what? I thought you might hurt yourself, Kendra admitted. The way you were crying, the way you looked so hopeless. I wanted to help, but I didn't know how. I was barely surviving myself. Christopher stopped walking. I was thinking about it, he said quietly. That night on the subway. I wasn't going to, but I was thinking about how easy it would be to just stop. To give up. Then Simone sang and everything changed. Kendra took his hand. I'm so glad you didn't give up. I'm so glad we found you. I think Grace sent you to me, Christopher said. I know that sounds crazy, but the timing, the song, the connection. It's too much to be coincidence. Maybe it's not coincidence, Kendra said. Maybe it's grace in a different way. Maybe it's the universe taking care of us. They stood there, waves lapping at their feet, and Christopher felt a peace he had never expected to feel again. He had thought his capacity for happiness died with Grace. But here he was in love again. Different love, not a replacement, but a new chapter. I want to marry you, he said suddenly. Not now, not yet. But someday. I want you to be my wife. I want to adopt Simone. I want us to be a family in every way. Kendra smiled. I want that too. When the time is right. When the time is right, Christopher agreed. They walked back to find Simone covered in sand, her bright red swimsuit almost orange in the sunset light. She was singing to the hermit crab, making up a song about beaches and waves and happiness. She's always singing, Christopher observed. Even after everything she still sings. She learned from the best, Kendra said. Grace taught me that music heals. I taught Simone. Now we're teaching you. You're teaching me a lot of things, Christopher said. How to live again. How to love again. How to be human again. That night they had a cookout on the beach. Hot dogs and hamburgers, chips and watermelon. Simone roasted marshmallows and got them all over her face. Christopher and Kendra laughed, taking pictures, making memories. Dad, Simone said, and Christopher's heart still jumped every time she called him that. Can we come back here next year? Absolutely, Christopher said. Every year if you want. I want, Simone said. This is the best place ever. After Simone fell asleep, exhausted from sun and swimming, Christopher and Kendra sat on the porch. The ocean was loud in the darkness, a constant rhythm. I'm afraid sometimes, Kendra admitted. Afraid this is too good to be true. That I'll wake up and be back on the subway, and all of this will have been a dream. It's not a dream, Christopher said. It's real. We're real. I know. But I've learned that good things can disappear fast. My job, my apartment, my security. It was all gone in weeks. What if? Nothing is going to disappear, Christopher interrupted gently. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. You can't promise that, Kendra said. Life happens. People get sick. Accidents happen. You know that better than anyone. She was right. He did know. Grace had taught him that no one could promise forever. Okay, he said. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen. But I can promise I will fight for this. For us. For our family. Every single day I will choose you and Simone. That's a promise I can make. Kendra leaned against him. That's enough. That's more than enough. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the ocean, feeling grateful for the second chances they had been given. Both had lost so much. Both had thought their best days were behind them. But here they were, building something new, something beautiful, something worth fighting for. Inside, Simone stirred in her sleep and called out, Dad. Christopher went to her immediately. She was still asleep but restless. He sat beside her bed, the way his own father had done when he was young. I'm here, sweetheart, he said softly. I'm right here. Simone settled, a small smile on her face. Christopher stayed there for a while, watching her sleep, feeling the weight of responsibility and love. This little girl had saved his life. She didn't know it, probably never would, but it was true. Her song, her kindness, her simple declaration that he shouldn't be sad, all of it had pulled him back from the edge. Kendra appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Perfect, Christopher said. Everything is perfect. They stood together watching Simone sleep and both felt the same thing. Hope. After so much loss, so much pain, they had found hope again. In each other, in Simone, in this makeshift family they had built from heartbreak and chance encounters. The next morning Simone woke them up early. Come see the sunrise. Please, we have to see it. They stumbled out of bed, still in pajamas, and walked to the beach. The sky was just starting to lighten, streaks of pink and gold breaking through the darkness. It's so pretty, Simone whispered, like speaking too loud would scare it away. They sat in the sand, Simone between Christopher and Kendra, and watched the sun rise over the ocean. A new day. A new beginning. A new chapter in all their lives. I want to remember this forever, Simone said. All of us together watching the sun rise. We will, Christopher promised. We'll come back every year and watch the sunrise together. Every year. Every year. Simone smiled and leaned against him. I love you, Dad. Christopher's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, Simone. So much. I love you both, Kendra said, wrapping her arms around them. My whole heart. They sat there as the sun climbed higher, warming them, filling them with light. 3 people who had found each other against impossible odds. 3 people who had chosen hope when hopelessness would have been easier. 3 people who had become a family. And far away, or maybe not far at all, Christopher liked to think that Grace was smiling. They returned from vacation tanned and relaxed. Simone went back to school with stories about hermit crabs and ocean waves. Kendra returned to work, bringing that same vacation peace to her patients. Christopher dove back into business but with new boundaries. He was home for dinner. He was present on weekends. He had learned to balance. Then in early August, Christopher's assistant brought him a box of old files from storage. Things that needed to be sorted before they could be properly archived. Christopher worked through them absently, signing off on documents, tossing outdated contracts. Then he found a folder marked Personal. Inside were things from Grace's hospital stay. Medical bills, insurance paperwork, discharge documents that were never used. At the bottom of the folder was a photo. Grace in her hospital bed, smiling despite everything. And beside her, holding her hand, was a younger Kendra. She wore blue scrubs, her hair pulled back, her face full of compassion. Someone had taken the picture, maybe another nurse, capturing a moment of connection between patient and caregiver. Christopher's hands shook. He had never seen this photo. Never knew it existed. But here was proof of what Kendra had told him. She had been there. She had held Grace's hand. She had comforted his wife in her final moments. He stared at the photo for a long time, emotions warring inside him. Gratitude. Sadness. Wonder at the impossible coincidence that had brought Kendra back into his life. That evening he showed Kendra the photo. They were sitting in the living room after putting Simone to bed. Christopher pulled the picture from his briefcase without saying anything. Kendra took it and her breath caught. Oh my God. I remember this. Another nurse took it. Your wife, Grace, she wanted to remember the people who helped her. She was so weak, but she insisted. You were so young, Christopher said. 29, Kendra confirmed. It was early in my career at Mercy General. I had only been on the floor for a year. Tell me about that day, Christopher said. Please. I need to know what happened when I wasn't there. Kendra set the photo down carefully. I got the call that Mrs. Bennett was declining, that she probably didn't have much time. They told me her husband was stuck in traffic, that terrible accident on the bridge. Grace was awake but fading. She was scared. Kendra's voice broke. She kept saying she didn't want to die alone, that she needed to wait for you. But we both knew there wasn't enough time. Christopher felt like he was being torn apart. I tried so hard to get there. The traffic, it wouldn't move. I was half a mile away, but it might as well have been across the country. I know, Kendra said. She knew too. She understood. And she didn't want her last moments to be filled with panic, so she asked me to sit with her, to hold her hand, to talk to her about something happy. What did you talk about? You, Kendra said simply. She told me about how you met, about your wedding day, about the life you built together. She told me about the song you sang to her. You are my sunshine, Christopher whispered. Yes, she said it was your song, that you sang it to her every morning. So I sang it to her. I held her hand and I sang, and she closed her eyes and smiled. She said, he's here now. I can feel him. And then very peacefully she was gone. Christopher was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. She felt me? She did. I promise you, Christopher, she wasn't alone. She felt you with her. She died knowing she was loved. I've carried so much guilt, Christopher said. For 3 years I've tortured myself over not being there, over letting her die alone. She wasn't alone, Kendra repeated firmly. I was there. And she made me promise something. What? She made me promise to keep singing, to teach my future children to sing, to spread kindness and hope through music because the world needed it. She said, Kendra paused, remembering. She said, someone will need this song someday. Someone will be as lost as Christopher will be without me. Promise me you'll be there to sing them back to hope. Christopher stared at her. She said that? Those exact words. Yes. I thought she was just talking the way people do when they're dying, trying to find meaning. But now, Kendra looked at the photo. Now I wonder if she knew. If somehow she knew that I would meet you. That Simone would sing you that song. That we would save each other. It's impossible, Christopher said. Is it? Kendra asked. Is it really? Or is it Grace working in ways we don't understand? Bringing us together because that's what Grace wanted. What she hoped for. They sat in silence, holding hands, processing this new understanding. The connection between them went deeper than either had realized. Grace had literally brought them together, across time and loss and impossible coincidence. I need to tell you something else, Kendra said. Something I haven't been able to say. What? I almost gave up. Right before we met you. I was standing on that subway platform with Simone, and I was thinking about how much easier it would be to just give up. To stop fighting. We had been homeless for 3 weeks. I couldn't find work. Simone was suffering. I felt like I had failed at everything. Christopher's grip on her hand tightened. But then Simone said, Mama, let's sing the song. The Sunshine Song. Someone needs it tonight. I didn't want to. I was too tired, too defeated. But she insisted. So we got on the subway and we sang. And we found you. We saved each other, Christopher said. We did, Kendra agreed. Grace knew what she was doing. She sent us to each other. Do you think she's happy? Christopher asked. Wherever she is. Do you think she's happy we found each other? I know she is, Kendra said. That's what people who love us want. For us to keep living. Keep loving. Keep finding joy even after they're gone. Christopher pulled Kendra close, holding her like she might disappear. I love you, he said. I love you so much. I don't want to compare or say you're replacing Grace or anything like that, but I need you to know. You're my everything now. You and Simone. You're my life. And you're ours, Kendra said. Our family. Our home. Our future. They held each other for a long time. Two people who had lost everything and found it again in the most unexpected way. Two people connected by a woman who had loved them both and wanted them to find happiness. Later, Christopher placed the photo on the mantel. Grace smiling, Kendra holding her hand. A moment frozen in time that had changed everything. He looked at it often in the days that followed, feeling grateful and sad and hopeful all at once. Grace had given him a final gift. She had sent him Kendra and Simone. Had made sure he wouldn't be alone forever. Had orchestrated, impossibly, a second chance at love. Thank you, Christopher whispered to the photo one night when he couldn't sleep. Thank you for everything. For loving me. For sending them to me. For making sure I didn't give up. I promise I'll take care of them. I promise I'll be happy. Like you wanted. The photo didn't answer, of course. But Christopher felt that sense of peace again. Like Grace was saying, I know you will. And he would. He absolutely would. Fall arrived, painting the city in red and gold. Simone started second grade, still singing in the choir, still bright and happy and loved. Kendra got another promotion at the hospital. Christopher's company had its most successful quarter in years, probably because he was actually present and engaged instead of going through the motions. Life was good. Better than good. It was full and rich and meaningful. One Saturday in late September, Christopher planned something special. He told Kendra to dress nicely, that they were going out for dinner. He arranged for Mrs. Robertson from Simone's school to babysit. When Kendra raised an eyebrow at that, Christopher just smiled mysteriously. They went to a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy or expensive, just a quiet neighborhood place with checkered tablecloths and candles on the tables. The kind of place Grace had loved. Why here? Kendra asked as they sat down. This is where I proposed to Grace, Christopher said. 13 years ago. Right at this table. Kendra looked around with new eyes. Really? Really? I was 25 and terrified. I had the ring in my pocket for a week, carrying it everywhere, waiting for the perfect moment. Then we came here for dinner, just a casual Friday night, and I looked at her across this table and realized there would never be a perfect moment. The perfect moment was just being with her. What did you say? Kendra asked. I said, Grace, I know we haven't been together that long, but I know. I know you're my person. I know I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. I know I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me? She said yes before I even got the ring out of my pocket. Kendra smiled. That sounds like her. From what you've told me about her. She was impulsive in the best way, Christopher agreed. She jumped into things with her whole heart. Never held back. I think that's what I loved most about her. They ordered food, talked about their week, about Simone's upcoming school concert. Easy conversation, comfortable and warm. Then, when dessert arrived, Christopher reached across the table and took Kendra's hand. I brought you here for a reason, he said. Not to propose, not yet. But to say something important in a place that matters to me. Kendra waited, her dark eyes reflecting the candlelight. Thank you, Christopher said. Thank you for holding Grace's hand when I couldn't be there. Thank you for singing to her, for making sure her last moments were peaceful. Thank you for keeping your promise to her, for teaching Simone to sing, for spreading hope through music. Thank you for singing that song on the subway, for letting Simone comfort me, for accepting my help when I needed to help someone. Thank you for giving me a reason to live again. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for letting me be part of your family. Thank you for everything. Tears streamed down Kendra's face. Christopher. I'm not done, he said gently. I also want to say I'm sorry. Sorry you lost your job, your home, your security. Sorry you had to struggle. Sorry Simone had to go through that. Sorry the system failed you so completely. And I want you to know that I will spend the rest of my life making sure neither of you ever has to worry about those things again. Not because I'm trying to buy your love or because I think money fixes everything. But because you deserve security. You deserve peace. You deserve to focus on living instead of surviving. You've already given us so much, Kendra said. More than we could ever repay. You don't owe me anything, Christopher said. You've given me more than I could ever repay. You've given me hope, love, family, purpose. You've given me a life worth living. They held hands across the table, both crying now, both grateful for the impossible series of events that had brought them to this moment. Grace would love you, Christopher said. She would love how strong you are, how kind, how good you are with children, how you see people who are hurting and try to help. She would love that you're taking care of me, taking care of us. I wish I could have known her better, Kendra said. Beyond those final moments. She sounds like she was amazing. She was, Christopher agreed. And I think somehow she knew you. Maybe she saw something in you that day at the hospital. Saw the person you were, the person you would become. Maybe that's why she made you promise to keep singing. Maybe she knew you would need that promise. Would need that purpose to survive what was coming. I think about that sometimes, Kendra admitted. About how that promise became a lifeline. When things were at their worst, when we were on the subway or in shelters, singing kept us going. Kept Simone hopeful. Kept me from giving up. Grace's promise literally saved our lives. And saving your lives saved mine, Christopher said. It's all connected. That's what I realized looking at that photo. This whole thing, it's bigger than us. It's Grace working through all of us. Grace the person and Grace the concept. All of it woven together. They finished dinner and walked through Brooklyn. The neighborhood had changed in 13 years, but some things were the same. Christopher showed Kendra the coffee shop where he met Grace, the park where they had their first date, the building where they lived before he made his first million. She was my first love, Christopher said. And I will always love her. That doesn't change. I know, Kendra said. And I don't want it to change. She's part of you. Part of our story. I'm glad you love her. But you, Christopher continued, stopping on a corner under a street light. You're my second chance. My unexpected miracle. I didn't think I would ever feel this way again. Didn't think I could love someone else. But I do. I love you differently than I loved Grace, but no less deeply. I love you too, Kendra said. I never thought I would find someone. I had Simone and I thought that was enough. That being a mother was my whole identity. But you showed me I could be a mother and a partner. That I didn't have to choose. You don't have to choose, Christopher confirmed. I love you both. Equally. Completely. They kissed under the streetlight and it felt like a promise. A commitment without words. A declaration that they were building something permanent, something real, something that would last. When they got home, Simone was already asleep. Mrs. Robertson reported that the evening had gone perfectly. Homework was done, teeth were brushed, bedtime story was read. Christopher paid her generously and thanked her for coming. He and Kendra checked on Simone together. She was sprawled across her bed, covers kicked off, one arm hanging off the side. Christopher carefully tucked her back in while Kendra picked up the stuffed animals that had fallen to the floor. She's so loved, Kendra whispered. I look at her and I can't believe how much her life has changed. From sleeping on trains to this. To having her own room, her own toys, a father who adores her. Sometimes I'm afraid to believe it's real. It's real, Christopher said. And it's forever. I promise you, Kendra. I will never leave. I will never let you down. I will never stop fighting for this family. I know, Kendra said. I believe you. They stood over Simone's bed, watching her sleep, both thinking the same thing. This was what mattered. This child, this family, this love. Everything else was just details. Ready for bed? Kendra asked. Actually, Christopher said, can we sit for a minute? I want to tell you something. They went to the living room, sat on the couch. Christopher pulled out his phone and showed her something he had been working on. I started a foundation, he said. In Grace's name. To help families like yours. Single parents who lose jobs through no fault of their own. People who fall through the cracks. We're going to provide emergency housing, job placement, childcare assistance. Everything you needed when the hospital closed. Kendra stared at him. Christopher, that's incredible. I want you to run it, he continued. You know what families need because you lived it. You know how to help people with dignity because that's who you are. And I want Simone to be the face of it. Her story, how music and hope and kindness saved her. Saved us. Are you serious? Completely serious. I've already filed the paperwork. Secured funding. We can start helping people next month. But I can't do it without you. Kendra threw her arms around him. Yes. Yes, of course. I would love to. This is everything. Helping others the way you helped us. Giving back. That's what Grace would want, Christopher said. That's what she would do if she were here. Turn our pain into purpose. Turn our story into help for others. They held each other, both overwhelmed by the fullness of life. How quickly things could change. How darkness could turn to light. How loss could lead to love. I need to say something, Kendra said. Something I haven't said because I was afraid. Tell me. I forgive you, she said. For not being there when Grace died. I forgive you and Grace forgave you. She told me to tell you that. She said, tell my husband it's not his fault. Tell him to forgive himself and live. I never got to tell you because I didn't know how to find you. But I'm telling you now. Forgive yourself. What? Well, be happy. That's what she wanted. Christopher broke down completely. 3 years of guilt, 3 years of torture, released in a flood of tears. Kendra held him while he cried, the way he had held her so many times. I forgive you, she repeated. Grace forgives you. Now forgive yourself. I'm trying, Christopher gasped. I'm trying so hard. I know, Kendra said. And you're doing it. Look at your life. Look at what you've built. Look at how you're helping people. You're living the way Grace wanted you to live. With love and purpose and hope. They stayed up late into the night talking through everything. The guilt, the grief, the gratitude. Processing 3 years of pain and 3 months of healing. By the time they finally went to bed, something had shifted. The past was finally truly at peace. And the future stretched out before them, bright and full of promise. Christmas came. Their first Christmas as a family. Christopher went overboard, buying presents, decorating the entire apartment, hiring a chef to make dinner. Simone woke up to a living room full of wrapped packages and squealed with delight. But the best gift wasn't under the tree. It was the announcement that Christopher made at breakfast, Kendra beside him, both of them smiling. Simone, honey, Christopher said. Your mom and I have something important to ask you. Simone looked up from her pancakes, syrup on her chin. What? How would you feel, Kendra said, if Christopher became your dad officially? Like legally? With adoption papers and everything? Simone's eyes went wide. Really? You mean I would be Simone Bennett? That's my last name? If you want it to be, Christopher said. I want to adopt you, sweetheart. I want to be your dad in every way. If you'll let me. Simone launched herself at him, pancakes forgotten. Yes, yes, yes. I want to be Simone Bennett. I want you to be my real dad. I am your real dad, Christopher said, hugging her tight. I've been your real dad since the day we met. This just makes it official. They cried and laughed and hugged, and it was the best Christmas any of them had ever had. Better than expensive gifts or fancy dinners. This was family. Real, chosen, beautiful family. The adoption was finalized in February. They stood in a courthouse, Christopher in a gray suit, Kendra in a maroon dress, Simone in a bright blue dress she had picked out herself. The judge smiled at them, remarked on what a beautiful family they were, and signed the papers. Simone Harris became Simone Bennett. And Christopher became legally and officially her father. How does it feel? The judge asked Simone. Perfect, Simone said. It feels perfect. That evening, Christopher took them to a restaurant. Not the Italian place, not somewhere with history. A new place for new memories. They ordered too much food, laughed too loud, took dozens of pictures. At the end of the meal, Christopher stood up. His hands were shaking. Kendra noticed and reached for him, concerned. I'm okay, he said. I need to do something. He got down on one knee. Kendra's hands flew to her mouth. Simone gasped, then started bouncing in her seat. Kendra Harris, Christopher said, pulling out a small velvet box. I rehearsed this speech 100 times, but now that I'm here, I can't remember any of it. So I'm just going to tell you the truth. You saved my life. You and Simone, you pulled me back from a darkness I didn't think I could escape. You showed me that life could be good again. That love could exist again. That family didn't die with Grace. It just changed form. Tears streamed down Kendra's face. You are the strongest, kindest, most beautiful person I have ever known. You are an amazing mother, an incredible nurse, a perfect partner. You make me want to be better. You make me want to deserve the second chance I've been given. I love you. I love Simone. I love our family. And I want to spend the rest of my life making you both as happy as you've made me. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Will you marry me? Yes, Kendra said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. The restaurant erupted in applause. Simone jumped up and hugged them both. Christopher slipped the ring onto Kendra's finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Everything about this was perfect. They married in May. 3 years to the day after Grace died. It felt right, honoring the past while celebrating the future. The wedding was small, just close friends and Simone's classmates. They held it in the park where Simone used to play, the one she showed Christopher on that first day. Kendra wore a simple white dress. Simone was the flower girl in a bright green dress that matched her personality. Christopher wore a navy suit and cried through the entire ceremony. When it was time for vows, Christopher spoke from the heart. Kendra, I promise to love you every day for the rest of my life. I promise to be a good husband and a good father. I promise to never take our family for granted. I promise to choose kindness, hope, and love always. Kendra wiped her eyes before speaking. Christopher, I promise to stand by you in all things. I promise to keep singing our song, to keep spreading hope. I promise to love you and honor Grace's memory. I promise to build a life with you that makes all of us proud. They kissed and Simone cheered louder than anyone. The reception was simple. Food, music, dancing. Simone sang, her voice pure and sweet, the same song that had started everything. You are my sunshine. Christopher and Kendra danced while she sang, holding each other close. Around them, guests cried at the beauty of it. The full circle moment. The redemption. We made it, Kendra whispered. We did, Christopher agreed. All 3 of us. After the wedding they took a honeymoon. Back to Cape Cod to the same beach house. Simone ran ahead while Christopher and Kendra walked slowly, hand in hand. Do you remember last year? Kendra asked. When we talked about the future and were both so scared? I remember, Christopher said. We were afraid to hope. Afraid it would all fall apart. It didn't fall apart, Kendra said. It got better. Better than I ever imagined. That's because we chose hope, Christopher said. Even when it was hard. Even when we were scared. We chose to believe in love. They reached the beach just as Simone found a hermit crab. She called them over, excited about her discovery. Look, Mom. Look, Dad. He's got a blue shell. Christopher and Kendra knelt beside her, examining the tiny creature. It was such a simple moment. A child showing her parents a hermit crab on the beach. But it represented everything they had built. A family. Real and permanent and full of love. That night, after Simone was asleep, Christopher and Kendra sat on the porch watching the stars. I want to tell you something, Christopher said. Something I've been thinking about. What? The foundation. Grace's Hope Foundation. It's helping dozens of families already. But I want to do more. I want us to go back to that subway station. The one where we met. And I want to help the people still singing there, still struggling, still hoping someone will notice them. Kendra smiled. I love that idea. So the next week after they returned home, that's exactly what they did. The 3 of them, Christopher in casual clothes, Kendra in her favorite green cardigan, Simone in her red dress. The same red dress she had worn that first night, carefully preserved and still worn for special occasions. They rode the subway to that station, got off at midnight and started singing. Simone's voice filled the platform with, You are my sunshine. People stopped, listened, smiled. Some cried. Christopher and Kendra handed out cards with information about Grace's Hope Foundation. Resources for families in crisis. Help for those who had fallen through the cracks. An older man approached them, tears in his eyes. I lost my job 3 months ago, he said. I've been sleeping in the station. I didn't know there was help available. Christopher took his information, made calls right there on the platform. Within an hour, the man had a bed at a shelter and an interview lined up for the next day. A single mother with 2 small children stopped to listen. Her kids were dirty, tired, scared. Kendra knelt down and talked to them while Christopher arranged for emergency housing. They helped 5 families that night. 5 families who had been invisible, forgotten, lost in the system. 5 families who now had hope because someone stopped to see them, to hear them, to help them. When they finally went home, exhausted but fulfilled, Simone said, Can we do that again? Can we go back and help more people? Every month, Christopher promised. Every month we'll go back. We'll keep singing, keep helping, keep spreading hope. Just like Grace wanted, Simone said. Just like Grace wanted, Christopher agreed. Kendra held both their hands as they rode the subway home. The same subway where she had once sung for spare change. The same subway where her daughter's voice had saved a billionaire's life. The same subway that had brought them all together. Full circle. From desperation to hope. From strangers to family. From darkness to light. You are my sunshine, Simone sang softly. My only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. Christopher and Kendra joined in, their voices blending with hers. 3 people singing together, spreading the hope that had saved them all. Keeping Grace's promise alive. Making sure that anyone who needed to hear that song would find someone to sing it to them. Because that's what family did. That's what love did. It reached out into the darkness and pulled people toward the light. And that's what Christopher Bennett, Kendra Bennett, and Simone Bennett would keep doing for the rest of their lives. Together. Always together. The subway rattled through the tunnel, carrying them home. To their apartment that was no longer empty. To their life that was no longer lonely. To their future that was no longer uncertain. 3 years after that first midnight meeting, they had built something beautiful. Not perfect but real. Not without challenges but full of love. Not the family any of them had planned for, but exactly the family they all needed. Grace would be proud, Christopher thought. She would be so proud. And somewhere, in whatever comes after this life, he liked to believe she was smiling. Her song had done exactly what she hoped. It had brought sunshine to people who needed it. It had connected souls across impossible distances. It had created family from strangers. It had turned sorrow into joy. It had saved them all. The end. Before you go, think about this. How many people in your own community are one bad day away from losing everything? How many voices are singing in the darkness, hoping someone will hear them? Subscribe to read more stories about hope, second chances, and the power of human kindness. Share your thoughts in the comments about what you would do if you encountered someone like Kendra and Simone. Your voice matters.